Hello, my name is Stephanie Doerr, and I'm a certified life coach. In today's video, I'm bringing you a session that I recorded with an ongoing client that I have. Um, and she agreed to have this recorded. And today she's talking about stress in her life and how to deal with it. So, um, just a little bit before we get started. So, since confidentiality is a big part of life coaching, um, I wanted her to feel comfortable because she did agree to have this recorded. So we built our report beforehand. So we checked in, see how she was doing, and with a little bit of what's going on in her life before we actually started the recording. And the so there's some details about what's causing her stress in her life, and names of people was all kept out of this just so that she felt comfortable about having this put online. And she was hoping that maybe this session could help other people dealing with stress in their life. So that's a one thing. Um, and another thing is, so with my life coaching, I don't like to rush. So it tends to be a little long. I like to give my clients time to process and explore all what they need to do within reason in a session. Because some people can talk a long time. But so anyway, so this one, I invite you to try and stay until the, the end. She makes some interesting discoveries and finding out some ways of dealing with her stress in a way she wasn't expecting to. So, so thank you for watching, and here we go. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So, thank you for sending in the information for me. You said that you wanted to work on stress management. Is that something you would still like to work on today?
Yes.
Well, with all the stress that's going on in the world, let's take a deep breath and just let everything relax for a little bit. Is that okay?
Sounds lovely.
Okay. Oh, okay. So you're working on stress management today. What exactly would you like to focus on with that?
I think I'd like to focus on strategies. Maybe it's a two-parter. Identifying when I'm being triggered, to be like, so the mindfulness of it, of when I'm being triggered by stress, and then strategies that I can use in response to that stress, rather than just being reactive, but proactively responding.
So being mindful of the factors that are becoming stressful for you, and then having strategies to deal with that stress?
Close. I think it's more recognizing when I'm being triggered, because it could be just different. It could be different things. But so, like, when I'm feeling like the cues of becoming, like the physiological cues of becoming stressed, so recognizing those, and then having a strategy so that I can be responsive and manage the stress rather than becoming a slave to it, if you will.
What a strong term. What does it mean being a slave of the stress?
It basically, for me, it means that I'm allowing it to take control and power over me, over my physiological response, my emotional response, rather than allowing myself to be in the driver's seat and, and stop it.
So when you become a slave to it, let's see how I want to word this. So finding those cues before it overtakes you and it takes over the control. Finding those cues at that moment, then having strategies to get into the driver's seat yourself?
Yes.
Okay. So if today were successful, what would you be taking away from the call other than the strategies? Or is that enough?
I think the recognition of the cues and being able to have the strategy to essentially change the channel and not allowing it to overtake me. I think that's what I would like to be able to take away from the call.
Okay. I know we've talked about some of this before in other calls. And what is important for you specifically today for dealing with this?
I think the source of the importance for me is that it's I'm 9 months pregnant, and so it's starting to, I learned over the last week, it's impacting my child, my unborn child, and I don't want it to have negative ramifications on the remainder of my pregnancy or the labor and delivery process. And I think it would also be very helpful to learn how to manage, to recognize and manage the stress because, obviously, once you have a baby, it's not like life's going to get less stressful. And I don't want to pass poor coping strategies onto my daughter. I want to be able to model for her healthy ways to manage stress.
So what I'm hearing here is that you want to change, not just for right now, but to change your life into having more of these identifying these cues beforehand for a lifelong habit, not just for you, but for your child, your baby.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so for today, if we were successful, what would you be taking away from today's call?
If we're successful, then I think I will have a better understanding of like the earlier stages of recognizing, the earlier stages of when I'm being triggered, and then also some practical strategies that I can use to start building like healthier, like you had mentioned, habits. I like that word, healthier stress management habits.
Well, I'm curious. When you're talking about this, you're very calm. When you get the triggers and it starts to you become a slave to the stress. How does that look?
I think it depends on the situation, like the severity of the stress. I definitely know that it presents as like my speech becomes quickened. The tonation in which I'm speaking becomes more urgent. My volume probably also increases when I'm speaking. I become super stressed. I start to feel like a pit in my stomach. I can start to feel myself like trembling or shaking. My chest will start to it'll get flushed. Looks like I have like a red rash. Sometimes I start to cry. So I rub my head a lot, or I'll, pinch the bridge of my nose a lot. Rub my shoulders and my neck. I think that's how it tends to present.
Yeah, as you're saying this, it sounds like it's just taking over your whole body, as you said.
And
I know you said you
very.
Yes.
I was going to say, and it's very hard to then. It's like all systems are go, and it's very hard to come down. It takes a while to come down after that happens.
What is it like with your thinking?
What am I thinking?
When you're in that stressful situation, you talked about your speech, you talked about your tonation is more urgent and the volume, and you're trembling and your chest flushed and crying. And what about your thoughts during that time?
My thoughts. I think it again also is situation dependent. I would say my thoughts are they probably go to like probably a combination of like worst case scenario sort of situation. Mm-hmm. And then it's like probably a little bit of catastrophizing. I don't know if I'm using that word right. And then it's sort of like, how do I maybe how do I manage this situation now? So then it goes into like problem solving. Yeah, I think that's probably how my thought process goes. I mean, honestly, I feel like sometimes the emotions are so strong, it's hard to pinpoint what exactly the thought process is. Because I feel like that emotional part of the brain just sort of starts to overload things. So I become much more, I think, reactive than I tend to be normally. So yeah, I think I would say that would be, if I were able just to identify some pieces in the moment, those would probably be the way that I would identify my thought process. And almost like I feel like I need to, like, again, depending on what the situation is, almost like I have to now like go into self-protect mode at the same time. So I have to defend myself against whatever the source of the stress is.
Mm. I know before you mentioned about your concerns about this affecting your baby. This may seem like an odd question, but what do you think is happening with her when you're in this stressful mode?
I mean, I think for sure she picks up on it, right? Because we're my cortisol levels are spiking, so that's certainly something that she's getting. My heart rate is increasing. Like, my breath is probably coming more rapidly. There's a constriction, I'm sure, in my body, like the pit in my stomach, and so I think that because we're so connected right now, she picks up on all of that, and I know it's not healthy for her. I know it's impacting her in a way, that on like a primal, basic level. and it's not making her last couple weeks, inside me, particularly pleasant.
So what do you think she would like to tell you?
Mommy, chill out. You're making my first home, a touch uncomfortable. Just focus on me, love on me. That's probably stuff like that.
Mm. So when you feel those first cues coming up, how can you recognize that for her and for you? Because you're both in this together.
No, I think I tend to recognize once the stress has gotten to the point where your stomach is in knots, but there's definitely, I know, a step before that I'm not as aware of. Which I think is part of the issue. I've had other people say to me, "You're getting stressed out. You need to not get stressed. You need to take a breath. Can't be stressed out with the baby. Blah blah blah." And at that point, I don't know that I even recognize yet that I'm getting stressed out. So that's what I like. That's the difficult part to answer, because that's what I kind of want to get to the heart of, is other people are seeing it in me when I'm becoming stressed out early on. So I guess I would like to see it sooner as well. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
Oh, no, it's perfect. So you said others can see it before you do.
Yeah.
How do they see it?
I think maybe my verbiage and how I'm wording something, it changes a little bit. I think again, I think it's situation dependent, but I think probably the first giveaway is going to be the words I choose in response to something mixed with my my tonation when I'm saying it. I think that's probably the first cue for them.
So what can you do with that if that's the first cue?
I guess I can be, if I recognize that that's one of the first cues, is I guess recognize it, figure out a way to sort of try and take a step back, like stopping it there before it escalates into something more. But I think that that's difficult because once that train starts to pull away from the station, it's how do I explain it? It's almost hard to stop it. It's almost like if you were like to free fall down through a rabbit hole. Like it's like my brain just starts going, and my concerns just start going, and it's hard to slow it down. So I guess that's that second piece of it, of wanting to figure out ways to disconnect from it, to slow it down, to stop the train from leaving the station, to, pack on an emergency parachute when you're falling down the rabbit hole, just something like that. That's that second piece of not just recognizing when it happens, but looking at better ways to cope with it.
So people have mentioned to you that you're getting stressed. So that's one cue that you have, that people have when they tell you. So it sounds like you need the coping mechanisms once people have noticed, and once you start noticing, to put on those brakes, to pull that brake on the train. But something that keeps coming back in my mind is, there's your baby calling out to you, "Mommy, chill out." You're making my first home a little uncomfortable. When you said, "Focus on me and love me."
I think that's definitely a way to try and put on the brakes. Try and take that pause and that, that beat.
Take that pause. What can you do when you take that pause?
I guess possibly focus on my breathing. Maybe trying some like grounding techniques, maybe. I've started trying to, my company, they, when you log in, like through with my work email and stuff, they give you basically allow you to access this app called Headspace. And basically you get access to basically everything, whereas if you're just like logging on as like just a lay person, you have to pay for a lot of the series, I guess is what they are. So one of the things that I've been trying to do is, trying to listen to this series and what have you about meditation, and trying to learn how to focus on my breathing and on my body positions and things like that. So I guess in that beat, what I can be doing is practicing some of that, especially the breathing part. Especially, when I'm at work in particular, because that's probably really all I can do when I'm at work. So yeah, I guess that's what I could do in that moment to try and create relaxations. Just taking some deep breaths. Deep deliberate breaths, not just,
Deep, deliberate breath. No, I got a little confused. So I want to clarify. You listen to these, the series and the meditation and the breathing exercises. If you were talking about doing this, is this like a practicing so that's when something's triggered that you can use it? Or were you talking about using this just when you feel that triggered?
So I think the purpose of it is to build outside habits beyond just whatever 10 minutes that you have in the series. So it's supposed to be able to be applicable, so you can utilize it when you're not just practicing it with the app, if that makes sense. So my husband and I mean, it's brand new. My husband and I just started trying to do it, or started the first part of it last night. So I haven't by any means built it into a habit yet. Excuse me. But I guess I could start trying to make it something that I a resource that I dip into or pull out, however you want to look at it, when I'm at work, to try and just be in a more relaxed state in general. So maybe if I'm my baseline is more relaxed, it might slow the progression of stress when a stressful event happens.
What are you experiencing when you're talking about being in a more relaxed state as a baseline?
I mean, I definitely like the idea of it. I like, even when we opened up the session and you said to take a couple of just breaths, I experienced something called ASMR, and when I'm able to just take those cleansing breaths without anything interrupting it. Like I get like, it feels like little head tingles. So I feel it working, and I instantly feel a sense of, well-being and a release of tension and stress.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the reason, in the past when I've taken yoga classes and things, like I enjoy listening to the teachers and when we practice the breathing and things, because it does give me a sense of well-being throughout my body.
So when you get those tingling and the feeling of well-being, that cues that you are relaxed. I know when we first came, you wanted to recognize the cues that you were starting a stressful situation or being put into stress. And now you're talking about cues of being in a more relaxed situation.
Mhm.
How does that sit with you?
I think that's actually a pretty good observation, because I think maybe it might be easier and faster for me to recognize when I'm in a state of relaxation versus when the beginning signs of stress. So maybe focusing more on that, and sort of shifting it from focusing on something negative like stress to focusing on something positive like feelings of relaxation. And rather than looking at it as like something I have to manage and overcome with, in the terms of stress management, but looking for something more positive, and looking for opportunities to engage in relaxation. I don't know if that makes any sense, but looking for those moments versus like trying to be so hyper aware of the stressful ones, if that makes sense.
So just turn it around to be more conscious of the relaxation moments.
And
building
try
that
maybe yeah, like you said, and building on that.
And building on that. So are you at a good place now to start with our conversation? That you feel that we got something from it today?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to make sure before we move on to the ending. So what have you discovered so far today about stress management?
That it's less about, I think for me it's less about focusing on the stressful cues and more about focusing on the cues of relaxation, and building on that, and trying to cultivate more moments of that throughout the day.
So cultivate more moments of relaxation.
Mhm.
Okay. And what are some possible ways you can move forward with this?
I think continuing with the meditation series with my Headspace app, and then taking maybe small moments during the day to just breathe, and focus on my breath, with intention. I think that will be a good way to move it forward, even if it's just like taking 5 minutes and or even just a minute, and just intentionally breathing.
And how will you remember to do this throughout the day?
Well, I know at work that I have a coworker who will remind me if I tell her like this is my plan. Also maybe like either setting like a reminder on my phone or on my watch to prompt me to just take a minute or two and take a breath. But intentionally breathe in a way that promotes relaxation.
Yeah. You sound like you're already relaxed.
It definitely, it's that or exhaustion. But yeah, I think definitely making that shift and focusing on the relaxation piece has been a big eye-opener.
That's good. And how will you stay on track so that you can get this into a habit for yourself?
Probably just through practice, but also like I had said before, the setting the reminders and things, but also having like people around me help me be accountable, like my coworker or my husband. He's pretty good at making sure I stay on track with things. So, and reminds me when I need to do something, whether it's this or something else.
So you have a lot of support, your husband and your coworkers, and I know you mentioned your mom. What other support would you need?
I think that's a good starting off place. I think until I start practicing it and trying to practice it more regularly, I won't necessarily know where the places are that I need additional support. So I think starting with my support system is a good place to a good jumping off point.
Okay, and I'm always here for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. What else do you need to be complete for today?
think I need anything else. I think it's been a very productive session and helped me to come to some realizations about my approach in my managing stress, and to focus. When you try to resist something, sometimes that has the opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish. So being able
Mm-hmm.
to shift that focus to something more positive, like opportunities for relaxation or for meditation or grounding, I think that is going to be very helpful.
And so what are you taking away? What have you learned about you today?
That the idea of focusing on feelings of well-being and relaxation, like that, is a big what I'm looking for. It's a big internal shift for me. It's more inviting, it's more welcoming, and I think is going to make me feel more inclined to build as a habit. So I'm going to be more inclined to practice it rather than just trying to stress manage. So that shift in mindset, I think, has been very eye-opening for me.
Thank you for sharing that. So Sarah, today you came and you sound a lot more relaxed now than when we first started. You came looking for ways to deal with the stress in your life, and not just for you, for your baby as she grows. And along the way, you discovered some ways to make positive changes in your life and build that into a habit to stay with you. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes for you for the next couple of weeks. And thank you for sharing this with me.
Oh, well, thank you for making me feel comfortable enough to share. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
See you in a couple weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching the video and listening to the session. I hope that some of it was beneficial for you and maybe you can get something out of it that you can apply to your life. And as always, if you like the video, please hit the like button and please hit the subscribe button. And thank you and have a good day.